back to another Boardvengers episode. Today we have Professor Meg and Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. How are you all doing today?
We pause and wait to see which one goes first. I got this. I'm doing great. Coming back from a week away and catching up on a million emails. I scratched that. I'm not doing great. I'm catching up on a million emails, and I have yet to do anything fun today. But I will be doing great as soon as I get the fun stuff done.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
well, we're really happy to have you on. We need to come up with like a name for when we have guests, like a crossover episode or something like that. Kind of play into the hero theme.
The Avengers.
Yeah. There's something there.
Yeah,
but
like not special issue, but like a
mashup.
Yeah, mashup.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I don't know.
It would be a crossover event, like technically, since Alex does have a channel.
Yeah, crossover. There we go. I like it. Well, thanks for coming on, Meg. How are you doing? Right as you take a sip.
Great. Yeah, so we just got off of a week of hanging out. And Alex actually got to hang out with another one of our Boardvengers, Roberto. So Monday night we got to have a bunch of people over. It was my friend Alicia's birthday. It was a really fun time. And Danielle Standring also came by too. So we got to hang out with a few really fun people.
Nice. You get to play any fun games?
I saw the pause. Played a game that I was less a fan of, but we did play fun games as well. We played some code names. We played some Green Team Wins. We played. What else we played? We played at least 2 other things that night. What else? What am I missing?
It was that DPCU game,
DPCU?
and then Roberto, Alicia, and I played Dungeons and Dragons Clue.
Dungeons and Dragons Clue.
It was so fun.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
It's
I'll take
Clue, but it was D&D flavored, which made it more fun.
It was a party night. It was a little less focused on the heavier stuff, a little more focused on party, just everyone having fun and all that stuff. But it was fun.
Yeah, it was a birthday party. We had cake. It was good.
Nice. Well, happy birthday to
happy birthday,
Alicia. Awesome. So before we do get started, we are talking about conventions today. So what to do to prepare for conventions, kind of what are the things that you like to do at conventions. I do want to give Alex just kind of the floor. So can you tell everyone where to find you and kind of what you do?
Sure. You can find me over on YouTube, YouTube Board Game Co. I am also currently on Twitch under Camp Co-op, Camp_Co-op, because there's apparently a Camp Co-op that does other stuff. It's not us at all. But yeah, I'm doing those things right now, talking about board games and playing board games because it's, well, fun, I guess. That's the short version of it.
Yeah. Excellent. Alrighty. Okay, so let's dive into conventions. We are coming up on Gen Con, which is debuting. It'll be 16 days after this video releases, which we're getting into, the crunch time, ready to go. And so today's just kind of going to be an open discussion about what we do at conventions and how we prepare for them. And so in the last 2 weeks, right? Okay, so set me right now. Like 2 weeks out, you're going to be driving, flying to Gen Con? I'm driving. I'm like an hour away.
I'll be driving. I'm 5 hours away. So we got a healthy range here. We got 1 hour. We got like 5 hours, and then flying.
Perfect. Alrighty. So getting ready for the travel to Gen Con. What are you all thinking about preparing right now, 2 weeks out?
So I'll make it full excited first last time.
One thing that I think is fun, since you brought up flying, was that we just flew as well. And before, I believe it was Gamma, I bought hard suitcases. So I think that's a great thing, especially if you're going to board game conventions. Even for my carry-on, I had a bunch of games in my carry-on and I was able to access them. That I think has been wonderful, that it, at least for my nerves, knowing that everything is safe and in the hard case. I think that is a huge investment that if you're going to start going to a lot of conventions, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, because if you're anything like me, you will come back with more than what you went there with.
Yeah.
So, I think, next time I fly to a convention, I'm probably going to pack a suitcase inside a suitcase and then, take 2 of them back. One's going to be just full of games. But
yeah, try to pack as light as possible, especially as someone who likes to have different clothes options. Yeah. I definitely have been just cutting it down and not caring, being like, hey, I have my outfits, that's it.
Yeah.
On that note, some conventions have a service, but even if they don't, it's worth considering shipping things back if you have a chance, especially with the cost of carry-on and luggage and all that stuff. Taking on the cost of $20, $30 to ship something, if you have the time and energy to go to a FedEx and drop something off and get it shipped back. If you have a bunch of games and you're being full of the luggage, it's much more efficient to do it that way.
And actually, I think some convention centers, I believe that where PAX East is, they actually have a shipping center in the convention center. So I don't know about Gen Con, but it might
Gen
have
Con
that
does.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gen Con.
Nice.
It's not a
I'm
shipping
sure they
center
do.
in the convention. It's a company that will ship stuff for you. So they kind of set up a booth right outside, and so you can go and ship stuff back. So have you all been to Gen Con before?
I have not. I've been
Oh,
to
No.
well, this
Origins,
is
I've been to
exciting.
PAX, I have not been to Gen Con.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, this is really exciting then. Yeah, I started going in 2015, and I've been every
Wow.
year since 2020. And so it was a lot easier when I lived 30 minutes from the convention center. I didn't have to deal with housing or anything. But so this is the first year where it's a little bit more of a trek or an expedition to get over there. But yeah, so hard suitcases, thinking about that because you know you're going to be bringing back games. So Alex, what about you? Anything that you are kind of thinking about logistically planning for your drive?
So the first thing I tend to do in general, this is more travel focused in general, but I have different lists for the types of travel I do, which is I try to have a ongoing list that I updated as needed. So I have a general convention list of the things I need to bring, the types of, anything from how many, I don't know, undershirts I'm bringing to the specifics of checking am I bringing a vaccine card? Have I checked the policies around a mask or anything like that? Do I know where I'm going, where I'm staying? It's just a checklist of the types of things I need to get done so that I'm not remembering from scratch every time I travel. And it's one of those things that you can easily update. The last time I traveled, I sat there like just this past week. I was like, I woke up the morning of the flight and I was like, had a little bit of heartburn. I was like, I should be adding Tums to my travel list. And so I added Tums to my travel list. It's an iterative process of just making sure that you only forget something once. Because if you do this right, you'll only ever forget something once. You'll put it to your list and then it's something
Yeah.
that is not frantically remembered, but is there, and you should be checking this on the way back too. It's the same thing. It's like there's that constant aspect of whether you're on a flight or whether you're on the way back of, do I have everything? Is everything prepped? Is everything ready to go? And I find having a list in general for travel, but again, specifically a convention list, I find that really takes a lot of the edge off of what am I missing? What am I doing? And just moving forward.
I love that idea, and I'm stealing it because typically me, it's frantically turning around after 20 minutes of driving there because I forgot something. So
Yeah.
Maybe you can share your list to him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'd have to pull it up. I'll find it. I'll find it. Easy enough. Yeah.
I love it.
And
Okay,
then
so
also there's the note that list I usually update. I usually have my convention list in general, and then if like now that I'm doing Gen Con, I have my Gen Con list which is copied from my convention list, and then I add things as necessary. Oh, this Gen Con trip, I'm adding XYZ that is specific to Gen Con. That still always leaves a degree of franticness as you try to figure out if you forget anything off that list. But it's like degree of, I don't know. I'm like, for instance, does happen to me occasionally where I'm traveling to a convention and I know a publisher wants a prototype back and they'll be at the convention. So I'm bringing that prototype back with me. That happened at Origins. I was bringing Septima back. So there's always custom aspects to it. So you always have the potential for getting things no matter what you do, but it helps with it.
yeah, absolutely. I love that idea. I'm typically a list person, but for some reason that's never come up in my in my planning period. I love it. Okay, so like when you get there, so one of the things that I will caution both of you about, or anyone who's watching the video, is that the line to get the badges, if you go on Wednesday or Thursday morning, is going to be absurdly long. So I typically go on Wednesday, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that I will wait in line for probably over an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it is pretty significant. So I think, some of the tips or tricks that I have is going middle of the night or like right as it opens or right as it closes.
How late can you go? Because I'm flying in at like 11 on Wednesday.
11 on Wednesday, maybe you could still be up there. I don't quite remember when it closes. I'll have to figure that out and let you know. Yeah. But it's the worst time to go is Thursday morning. So if you can get there on Wednesday, then there's going to be a lot less FOMO, right? Because there's Wednesday, the dealer halls aren't open. You can't go in and you're not missing anything standing in line. Whereas Thursday morning, if you show up and you're sitting in that line, you're there. Yeah. You could be doing other Gen Con stuff, right? And so finding a time to get that badge is pretty crucial. And no one can pick it up for you. I've tried picking it up for some friends, and they are very unforgiving when it comes to that.
That's good to know because I'm coming in Wednesday as well, but just in terms of priorities, yeah, Origins was not great as far as lines, but Origins like the long line means like 25 minutes, not like an hour and a half. So that is good to know for sure.
Yeah. So they have at the front of the convention centers where you pick up your badge. I have gone all the way through the convention center, out the back door, and around the block before. Like, and then it's it's the middle of August, or it's like August, right? So it's not pleasant outside.
Yeah.
It's nice, hot, and muggy. So I guess that's another thing to kind of think about is like what you're wearing, right? It is warm, right? It's definitely very much different than like a PAX Unplugged, where it's in the middle of December in Philadelphia. I'm wearing something different there because it is pretty warm in Indiana, or not? Yeah, in Indiana.
Yeah, the two conventions I'm used to are PAX East and PAX Unplugged, which are both cold conventions, which I've always had to deal with something like coat check and things like that. And I kept saying how excited I am for a warm convention, and now I'm like, gamer musk. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember going to PAX and like leaving my coat in my car and walking like, I don't know, 10 minutes in the frigid cold because I just didn't want to deal with coats. It's like wearing like short sleeves, just hoping I'll make it through. And it was fine. It was worth it. But yeah, coat check's not something. It's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, which is really great. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got our badges. What are some of the things that you like to do? And it's not necessarily Gen Con, but like think about conventions, right? So you're at the convention. What are you looking to do day one? Like what are some of the first things that you want to hit up?
So in general, regardless of which convention I'm going to, a big thing for me is trying to figure out my general game plan. Depending on what you're going to, depending on the convention, depending on any number of things that you may or may not be able to do. Well, you probably will not be able to do everything. So I like walking in with some idea of the priorities I have. And the priorities could be anything from specific games that I know will be at that convention. In the case of Gen Con, for instance, if you head over to Board Game Geek, they have a list of 340 games. If there are any on that list that you want to see, that you want to find, whether to buy or just find out more about, this is your opportunity to do it on your computer rather than crawling the halls slowly and possibly never seeing something because it's going to be large. And so offhand, anything from the games you're doing to whether you're meeting with people, whether you're trying to have fun, eat, it's a good idea to try to figure out your general priorities as to what is most important, because you otherwise won't get it all done. And then from there, having some general schedule around that. A general schedule could be anything from specific times if you're that, aspect, like we're going to do this, or it could just be like on Thursday, I want to see these two games. I want to go to lunch with my friends over here. You want to have a game that night later, and then the rest of the time is just browsing. Having a general sense of your schedule every single day will lend you to actually getting certain things done, as opposed to ambiently wandering for 4 days, which you will still have a lot of fun if you do that, but it means you won't walk away being like, I didn't get that copy off an Arc Nova. I didn't see that newest game, or whatever it is you're trying to get your hands on.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I have done the mindlessly wandering method, and it is still a lot of fun, but it's like, recap afterwards. Like, did you see that? I was like, no, I definitely did not. I don't know where. It's like I remember, I think it was the third year I realized that there were publishers like upstairs. Like I realized that there was a second floor to Gen Con. I was like, okay, I just completely missed everything that's ever been there. But what about you, Meg?
So I love shopping, and that's part of why I love conventions. So there are a few things to consider there. There are some games that will sell out. If there's something you really care about, I say grab that first. Go right to it. It does sometimes having to carry around games. So I also have some board game bags that I suggest grabbing one of those if you're going to go to a lot of conventions to make sure you can carry around what you want. But definitely grab any games that you've been thinking of. And along the same lines, especially as a small person, grab any clothes that you want. If you want, especially like con exclusive shirts and stuff like that, grab the size that you want. If you're not a medium or a large, do it immediately. And then another thing is, like with the wandering, I really like making sure I snake a certain way and try to start at the beginning of the convention hall. It's not easy, but trying to keep on track and going row by row, at least future days, like you can pick up where you left off and you kind of have an idea of what you have and haven't seen. But it is really difficult. It is really hard to see everything.
Yeah. It, especially now that I think we're seeing more publishers come to these conventions. So last year it was fairly, condensed just from the COVID standpoint. There were a lot less publishers there. And I think that has opened up a little bit more. So this year it'll be a little bit bigger. But one of the things that I really like to do is whenever you get your badge at Gen Con, I don't know if they do it at PAX. I must have missed it if they did. But at Gen Con, I would go there's like a coupon book and then like a show brochure that will have the layout of the floor. So if you know that Capstone Games is putting out something that you really want to go and grab, you can see the map. And then I've done this where you go and map out what door you're going to enter so that you have the shortest route to get there. And then you get in the long line and hope that we have 46 copies and you're sitting there counting. Like, okay, I think I'm going to get one. And so that's great. And then also the coupon book has, 60 pages of different coupons, from anything that's, free dice to a miniature with a purchase to go spin the big wheel and see what you get. And so those are always fun. Yeah. And so those are always fun. So if you don't necessarily have a game plan, I always like taking a look at that coupon book and just seeing what are some of the fun things that could be done. Like, I might as well go spin the giant wheel, right? And just kind of making your way along there. And I'm sure you'll be pulled into a demo along the way, because that's another thing that I really enjoy about conventions is just being able to sit down and play games.
Yeah. So to shout out PAX, because PAX is where I started and I love PAX. They I think for them it's a separate booklet, so you would have had to grab like the bigger book for that. But they also, and I believe Origins was doing this. I didn't use it as much, but for PAX I use the app as well, where there's an app that you can get the show map, you can search by exhibitors, and you can also see the schedules for panels, because I really enjoy those as well. Or Gen Con, I haven't looked into it yet, but I assume they must have a similar app.
I don't know. I've never used
one.
Hope
they do.
Yeah, I've never used one. I know that the book that they have has kind of like the schedule and all the
for PAX, it's really
there.
Great that you can schedule
like
yourself for events.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that way you can kind of just keep track of where you're going and you don't have to like have it written down anywhere.
Yeah. So going back to Gen Con, you mentioned food, Alex. So with Gen Con specifically, and it's different for all the conventions, but there are basically, they shut down a road right outside of the front of the convention hall, and they have probably 30 to 40 food trucks. And that is the most convenient, and most of them are pretty good. And so that's typically where I go for at least lunch. Dinner can sometimes be out at a different restaurant or something like that. And there's plenty of restaurants in downtown Indianapolis, but those are really convenient. Again, I typically try and shift all of my eating schedule. So I'm not eating at noon. I'm not eating at 6. I'm eating at lunch at 3 and dinner at 9 or something, right? Because again, you can stand in line for 30 to 45 minutes. And
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. You're missing so much time that you could be in that hall, right?
No, but you're talking to a gluten-free person on the one hand, someone who keeps kosher on the other hand. So we have our own problems here. But I was going to say, one of the things I was going to say is, knowing from other conventions, ask the people in the know. In this case, that's you. But there's always people who are like, yeah, you could just wander around, but like, here's where the good food is. Here's the good times. These 3 trucks are generally the favorite, but that also means they're overloaded. So maybe that one's not a bad second choice. I found every convention I go to has people who know what the good places to hit are, and good is varied. Sometimes good is just the thing that's closest. Other times it's like, hey, if you're willing to drive 10 minutes down the road, there's an amazing bar that will not have any lines. It's going to have some great whatever. I don't even know what the grade is, but something there. But every convention I've gone to always has their in club, that people who've been going to convention for years and know the good places to go to, whether they're close by for convenience or whether they are further for something you wouldn't otherwise get and a little less crowd.
Yeah. You can follow the crowd too. If you don't necessarily know someone, if you're going there kind of solo and you don't have anybody that has been there before, maybe you're going as a group, follow people around noon. They'll lead you to food.
One other thing too that I know at least PAX is like this. Sorry to keep going back to PAX, but I assume Gen Con is the same. You can usually bring any kind of food you want inside. That's something that I never really thought of, like when I was younger going into conventions, but now you can bring like granola and nut mixes and fruit snacks and all that kind of stuff. But I just had like a recovered memory that I want to say it was in 2015-16. I was at PAX East and we decided to stay late for a panel, and we had Domino's delivered. That they delivered it right to the front of the convention hall. I had 4 pizza boxes with me. And me walking through the PAX East convention hall holding pizza boxes, like heads were turning. They were like, "Where did you get that? Where is it from? Who's selling pizza?" It was
You're a celebrity. Oh, that's amazing.
So pro tip, you can do that too. Try to get food delivered to a con.
Yeah. I like it. I always try and bring snacks of some sort, right? Just throw it in the backpack. I usually wear a backpack, throw those in there. I usually carry water.
Yeah, speaking of bring a water thing, because you can refill that at all of the water fountains too.
Yeah, and they do charge for bottled water, but they don't charge for the water fountains. So definitely, you know, get a good water bottle and bring that, because you walk a lot in these conventions.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
The part I'm realizing is I have a list, and last Origins I brought my water bottle, and I'm 99% sure my water bottle is not on my list, so I'm going to have to go add that.
Well, there you go. Cool. Perfect. It worked. Alrighty. So we are we're 75% of the way through the con. How do you guys go about, I know, Alex, you mentioned Board Game Geek, but a lot of publishers like to release new games at the conventions. There's a new hotness. What are some of the tools or resources that you all use to go and find what those are and how to get in and play some of those?
Yeah, so Board Game Geek for Gen Con in particular always has something. I believe they have for Essen as well. Some conventions they have, some conventions not as much. And that often I find is one of the better tools if or when they have it. It's not going to be fully comprehensive, but I think it's the most singular comprehensive list I've used. Past that, being in Facebook groups will generally help. Following, whatever YouTuber, whatever channels you want to follow that are doing some sort of, 10 games we're excited about at Gen Con, well, then you're getting an already curated list. You're already getting some sort of list of at least something that there's more hype, more buzz, more something. And so whether it's following content creators, whether it's being in Facebook groups or Board Game Geek, there may well be other resources, but I find that those three already will give you a good overlap of some degree of buzz, although not necessarily everything.
Yeah. Anything to add, Meg?
I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I think usually I follow a lot of publishers on social media. So I think I try to see like who's saying that they'll be there and where their booth is, and what they're posting about. So I think that's how I hear about a lot of it. But something else I really like to do, I'll print out the exhibitor list like weeks before. So I haven't done it for Gen Con yet, but usually that's something that I'll do that I can look through usually when I'm traveling down to the con to make sure if there's any I definitely want to go by, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
Because for me, finding different booths, I'm a little directionally challenged at the con. So having it written somewhere is very good.
Yeah, very good point. So what about the end? Right, if the last day of the con, is there anything?
That's the face I'm thinking. What do you mean the end? We don't want to talk about the end.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Well, hypothetically, if Gen Con ever ended.
Much better.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you look to do towards the end of a convention to make sure that you have checked off everything on the list that you wanted to do? Or is there anything that you wait until the end, last day or something like that to do?
Nelson, like the nice way to put it is like, what's your Gen Con win condition?
Yeah, what's your Gen Con win condition? I love it. Yeah, perfect.
Alex, do you have an answer first?
My answer is gonna be fairly boring in this one. This one I don't have quite as much to go on. I have, because one of the answers I do have is specifically related to content creators, which is less useful for this conversation. But I would say that in a general sense, it's usually going from my end, from the way I approach things, the things I'm trying to hit as I'm there. The last day is usually the catch up of the things I missed. Oh, Thursday I wanted to get X done and I didn't. Maybe I can run around over here. I do find that every convention, the last day that I'm there, whether it's the last day of the convention or the last day I'm at the convention, either one, I find that usually that last hour, I'm like kind of doing a quick, desperate sweep of the hall where I'll never hit everything. I never do. But it's almost like this last, like, okay, I mean, I knew I was going to come back and talk to this publisher later, but like I didn't. Let me see if I can quickly run around. And I always get something in that last hour. It's not always worth it. And I find it's, in my end, it's something that's just frenetic. It's like frenetic, just a feeling of not wanting things to end, of not wanting that sense of, okay, it's done until the next convention. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I have a good idea, because my answer is probably not that effective. It's just desperately running around trying to catch that last thing. Or that, or goodbyes. Goodbyes are another one, but that's also harder because inherently, unless you plan them well, you running around hoping to run into the people you're with is always a different conversation as well. But it's, I just don't like this question or the concept of the end at all.
Well, I'm sorry to bring the mood down.
Nelson, do you have a good answer?
I mean, it gets chaotic, right?
Yeah.
That last hour just gets chaotic because
it's the fastest hour.
It's the fastest hour.
Yeah.
It takes forever. It's really sad because they start counting down on Gen Con over the loud speaker. But what I do is if there's a game that I want to get, it's not the hotness, it's not going to sell out, and it's a bigger game, I typically wait until the last day to get that, just so I don't have to figure out a way to lug it around, because you have these board game bags, but then after you're carrying, a Arc Nova for 8 hours, it gets heavier. It gets heavier.
I had to carry Cloudspire.
I think I carry Cloudspire.
I had to carry it a little bit.
Yeah. And so like things like that, and you can kind of get a feel for when or if certain games are going to sell out, right? If you walk by the Chip Theory games and see Cloudspire stacked to the ceiling, and then you come back 2 hours later and it's halfway depleted, you may want to go ahead and grab that copy of Cloudspire, right? And I do that all the time, and typically what happens is I end up buying things way sooner than I need to, just because I have this like dread of missing out on the game that I could have had. So but if I can control myself, typically on the last day, other than everything that you had already mentioned, Alex, is going and finding some of those games that it's like I'm okay to carry this now. Carry this back on.
Yeah, I carried a copy of Cloudspire and Foundations of Rome at the same time to my car from Origins. It was not fun.
Yeah, but your delts look great now. So
yes, no, it's well worth it. I just need to go to a few more conventions.
Yeah, it's the convention workout plan. We should publish it. Excellent.
Which I guess that actually might be the last note for me, which is getting a reasonable amount of sleep. And reasonable is always going to vary by person, but I find if you really push yourself too hard, it's sometimes not worth it. You'll push yourself. You'll do that. Get some sleep. Get some extra sleep before convention. Get some extra sleep after. Give yourself a little bit of leeway to work with. But trying to stay up and survive on 3 hours of sleep for 4 days in a row is going to mess with your body. And some people will try doing it, and for some people it'll be worth it. But especially if you're treating conventions as a general ongoing thing that you do on a regular basis, as opposed to that once every 2-year event, then pushing yourself too much can have effects both after and worse during the convention as well. You'll need some sleep, pace yourself, have fun, but know your limits. Yeah, that's a really good point, because it kind of, the last point that I wanted to touch on, I have a funny story about the sleep. So events at Gen Con, and so there are a lot of tournaments for games, for different things that you can sign up for. You can go onto the website right now and take a look at what is being run, and then they range anywhere from free to, I don't know, $20. I actually don't know. So I think the most I've ever paid for something is $6. But one of my family plays in a game called HeroScape, and they were playing in a game on Sunday morning, a tournament, and they had done the whole thing where they were going to bed at 3, getting up at 9, going to bed at 4, getting up at 8 to make all these tournaments, and they like woke up and the tournament was over. Like, so very much like that's an extreme case of just missing an entire day of the con. But very good point. Like, let's make sure that you get that sleep, because that is, it makes I would much rather have less quality time than trying to drag it out and just kind of ruin the last half of that convention.
Nelson, I have a question for you, since you have been to Gen Con.
Yes.
What is your favorite part?
What is my favorite part? Ooh.
And maybe apart from other conventions, I don't know. I don't know if that's too much.
Like, what is my favorite part that Gen Con offers that the others don't? Oh, ooh, that's a good. So that's a really good question. So it's a certain feeling that I don't necessarily know how to put it into words. I think it was my first convention. It's been the convention that I've gone back every single year. My family does it, right? It's just like, it's a feeling, it's an emotion that I don't ever get anywhere else. And so it's just excitement. Like, walking into, probably my favorite feeling is walking into the convention center for the first time, wait to get your badge, and you're like, this is happening. And it's like, you're done with work for the rest of the weekend. You're ready. I mean, that's just a great feeling. And then one that I think the other conventions probably share is every single morning, I like to get there 15 to 20 minutes before the doors open. And this was a lot more prevalent before the COVID era, right? But everyone would pack in and try and like, get in and rush to the game. And so I just have like a lot of fond memories of getting some of the exciting games. Like I got Wingspan that way where we all rushed over. It wasn't Stonemeyer. They were there under a partner that was selling Wingspan, and they ended up giving out tickets. And so everyone in line got a ticket, and then they had 50 copies or so and 200 people, and then they would draw out and like, okay, if your number got called, then you could buy a copy of Wingspan. And
I don't know if there's any game I care that much about.
But yeah, but the nice thing is that if you didn't get called, then you could use, it was like a discount on another product. So you could turn your ticket in for, I think it was like $5 or $10 off. So it was just like, it was like, I didn't even know if I wanted Wingspan at the time, but I was like, I want to participate. I want to be a part of it. Like, I want to do something with it. I ended up getting called. That's Elizabeth fun. Was hard there, and she was able to sign the copy. And so that was just like a really exciting, like, feel good moment.
That is exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else that we didn't touch on that we want to cover before we call it good for the Gen Con prep?
Not specifically on my hand, at least not off the cuff. I think maybe the last thing I'd say is, and this is more for conventions in general, for anyone who's going to them, which is understand why you're going and what you're trying to get out of the experience. I think conventions can be a lot of expense to get there, to fly, to travel, to take off work, to do whatever it is you need to do, to buy games, to hang out. They can be a lot to go there. And I think that for some people, they'll be 100% worth it. There'll be a little mini vacation. You'll have an absolute blast. But figure out why it is you're going. Going back even to the Wingspan thing, is that because you desperately need the newest game? Well, you might have to work for that. It might have to be more than just showing up at the convention. There might be more steps to that. Is that just because you want games in general? Conventions often have games more expensive than they are online, depending on what you're getting. Sometimes they have access to things you can't otherwise get, but the things you could get, that the normal available stock might be more expensive because it cost the publisher more to get it there, but you can also just get it online. Why do that? Maybe you're doing it because you want to see new games. Maybe you're doing it because you want to sit down and table new games. But understand what it is you want to get out of a convention. They're a lot of fun, as evidenced by the people who keep going again and again and again. But especially before you take on the expense, especially if you're going to a larger one, it might be something that you just try to figure out for yourself what your goals are, and is it going to be the experience you wanted, or is it going to be something you spend a lot of time, energy, and whatnot, and just feel it's a letdown?
Good point. Very good point. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. I look forward to seeing you all in 17 days. So 6. It's so soon. It's so exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. We will have a video next week. I think what, Alex, you were referring to, go check out some videos of your top 10 games. I think we are going to be putting out one of those under the Boardvengers account. Nice. So we'll have some of our thoughts too. So you can check back next week for those. But look forward to seeing you all. Look forward to seeing anyone who wants to come and visit with us at Gen Con. Come say hi, and we'll see you around.
Bye.
Peace.